Hello, and welcome to Crafts and Crime. I'm Amy.
And I'm Elaine.
And as always, we have a craft and a crime.
Yay!
So, we are busy recording a lot this week. So, I think by the time this comes out, you'll be on your little vacation. Right?
Yeah, because yes, I will be gone having an awesome time.
Yeah. And I'll be here mourning your loss.
You stop.
Yeah.
And I know we'll still text each other all day long, every day.
I know, really. So yeah, I worked yesterday and this morning, and then you came over and helped me shave my cat.
Oh yeah, he was so good. What
Yeah.
a sweet baby. He was purring the whole time.
I know.
He likes the attention.
He's the
But
baby.
also, he didn't have like knots. There wasn't anything crazy. He was just taking down his crazy fur. And now I've always like teased him because he reminds me of the, cowardly lion.
The cowardly lion, Calvin.
And cowardly lion, Calvin. He always just looks so surprised, and now
He
he's
does.
got like a mane and a fluffy tail. And I was like, if I was the king of the forest.
He's so cute, though.
He
He
really
did so
is.
good. He was so funny when I first had to shave, because so Frankie, I think they're two different kinds. They're not both ragamuffins. I think Frankie's a ragamuffin, and he's like white and gray. And then Calvin is like a munchkin ragamuffin or something like that. So that's why his fur is a little different.
Oh.
I
I
gotta
thought a
look at
munchkin made them like a dwarf.
That's what I thought. I
Because
don't
June
know.
is like the front half
Yeah.
of her is dwarf size and the back half of her is normal.
So he probably is just a ragamuffin. So they're very furry. And Frankie has really long hair.
It's
fur.
very wispy.
Yeah.
Like
and
super wispy.
it's like the fluffiest, like they're the softest cats I've ever pet. and they're mine. And Frankie's currently sitting next to Elaine. Yeah, he needs to be shaved.
He's
but
not happy with us.
He's the one that is the worst. And we tried to shave him, me, Jack, and Avery and Troy. It took 4 of us to pin him down and cover his mouth because he kept trying to bite.
Oh no.
So I think I might get like that cat muzzle thing so he can't bite us at least. For his own
Bubba.
safety. But yeah, because then it was like Jack had to hold an arm and a leg, and Troy had to hold an arm and a
hog
leg.
tie kind of.
Yeah, because
Aw.
he gets dreadlocks, like really bad mats, like in his armpits and leg pits and stuff. So
Yeah.
he's next, but
I forget that their tongue is so sharp. It's like their comb. So he's not getting those areas enough.
no, he's not. And I try to brush him as much as possible, but he hates it. Well, Calvin, on the other hand, loves it. So when we were shaving him, we had him up on the dining room table with like a towel to catch all the fur, and he was purring.
The
It
whole
was like
time.
the whole time.
He was laying down. There was like I could have moved my hands and he would have just stayed there.
Yeah.
He wasn't even doing
And that
anything.
was when
It was just like helping to manipulate his skin and that's it.
yeah, because he's still young. He's only 2, so he still has that baby skin. And
he's like, I'll just lay here. Thanks for the spa, guys.
he was purring the whole time.
super cute.
Until it's like we had to put him on his back to get his belly, and then he was just kind of like, "What is
yeah,
happening?"
yeah, because it was a little bit too like we were having to get him a little splayed with his back legs.
Yeah,
And I think he was like, I don't like this.
yeah.
I think it's like for him, he's like, I don't need you to hold me down. So I think that is what makes him nervous. Like, what's coming if you're having to like
Hold me. Yeah.
But again, it's like trying to pull that skin. It's so delicate, and it's like it's loose like that on all cats. Like, especially it's interesting, but like with long-haired cats too, and you have to like push it and pull it and
Flatten the
stretch it.
skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so afraid I was going to clip him because I did accidentally on Frankie when we were trying to get the mats out because they were so close to the skin. I was like, I'm sorry.
Well,
so it's like a little, like a rash kind of, like it just got a little too close.
I have given myself a rash shaving
Yeah.
my head too. Yeah, where you just
Oh,
like
no.
even with guards on, like you just accidentally push too hard, and then you're like,
That's what
oh
it
my
was.
god, like why does it hurt? It's weird, but I got that new hairbrush already, the hook one that has like the little.
Maybe we could try that on
And,
him.
yeah, and there's like 2 sides to it. One of them is Johnny loves it, but he also hates it. He was purring, but like because
Yeah.
it was getting those little mats out.
Yeah. All by his butt.
And yeah, and I
His
was
hips,
looking
I
at
should say.
I was looking at it a lot, and it was pretty much the thing is like we have carpet now, and he was always laying on the I'm sorry, we had carpet.
Yeah. I was like,
now
you don't.
we have hard floor.
Yeah.
And I was reading, I was like, how the heck does a short-haired cat get so matted when he loves being brushed a lot, and I do it, and he likes that one sticky, I call it a sticky brush, but it's like oven mitt shaped, and it has little rubbery nubbins. He likes that because it just like gently pulls out the hair. He has no problem being groomed. But I found out it's all of the laying on the ground. The dust from the ground actually like mats up the fibers.
Oh, makes sense.
So, and because he likes to sneak outside, he doesn't do it anymore, but you open the door and he'd run out. And then all the times pretty much he's been rolling around outside and like getting all dusty and grubby. And then I think what was happening is I read that when it's already matted up that the water makes it worse. So like when I was using waterless shampoo, but still it was the foam, it was getting him damp. It probably just made it worse. So I was like, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, one side is like the rakes. He's like, don't shave me, I'll do it.
Frankie's over here grooming
like
himself.
Deep grooming his armpit. Look,
he's like,
totally, yes, he is. He's doing exactly what we said he doesn't. He's like, don't shave me, I'll do it.
His fur is what, like 4 inches long at least? Like it's
probably.
Yeah, it's long. But yeah, he's all grooming himself now.
So cute. He's like, don't do it.
Yeah, he's like, I heard what
I'll
you're
be good.
do.
I'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any chicken news. Nothing
I
different
got my
yet.
pop-up thingy for the chicks.
The same thing that I have, which, like I said, so far I love it. And luckily you and I know how to hand stitch. I get some people don't. And I remember one of the complaints was like, oh, well, like the corner seam was kind of coming apart because they want to dig at like chickens do. And they do it occasionally, but I haven't noticed anything from my chicks, even though they're only like not even a week old.
Yeah.
But yeah, just make sure that your water is risen up because it's fine now. I totally put it up on that little pedestal of one of the older waterers. And I do need to hot glue it down because as they get bigger, they're going to knock it over. Or find something else for sure. But just that inch makes such a big difference because they weren't knocking the water out. It was like touching the pine shavings and it was wicking it out and like into all the material around it.
Yeah.
Luckily it's hot, so I just scooted it around, mixed it up,
dried.
And it dried. But
I know that's crazy because usually they need like a heat lamp, but it's so hot.
It's so hot.
Do that.
No, I have to put
Only
it
at
on
night?
at night. I put it on at nighttime, and honestly, I don't even need to do it until like 9:30 or 10 is really because I stay up late, or if I fall asleep with Kurt and then I get up.
I'm gonna have to find room in my garage to like fit that thing. I still have like a week and a half, I think.
God, it goes by so fast.
I know, because I'm like, lockdown is on Saturday for the quail, and then they should hatch in 1 week.
Have you figured out how you'll attach your little heat lampy thing to the top of it?
No, I was thinking in the garage there's that saw, the circular saw, and it has like...
You can clip it on it?
I was thinking of just like hanging it by the cord.
Yeah.
Because it's clipped, by the cord, so I'm thinking of just hanging it off of that and like scooching them under there. So that's probably the best I can do. So, or hang it from a rafter. Like...
You totally could.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long cable, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Seriously, as hot as it is,
but it's so hot. I don't think they're gonna
really
need anything.
don't even.
And I also
have you had your thermometer in your garage? Because see, my garage, I open it all the time. You guys can't open it the same way I can.
Yeah.
So yours is retaining a lot more heat because I'm always in the garage.
Yeah. So
it does not retain a lot of heat. You're probably not even gonna have to use it.
I probably don't even need one.
You probably. How many times did we just say probably?
Probably.
You should put one of your thermometers in there and check what the temperature is. As long as it's 90, you're golden.
Yeah, because that app, it'll show you we have like fancy thermometers that you link up to your phone.
It literally tells me on the app, chicks.
It's so it's so funny because my brother gave them
Brad.
to me. Yeah, Brad gave them to me, and he was like, I don't use these anymore, and I was like, okay, cool. And I was thinking I'll use them for plants. Who would have thought that like I'm using it for chickens and quail? Yeah, I'm really excited about the quail, but also a little nervous because I'm like, there's 30 of them.
Me too. I can't wait.
I know.
I'm excited.
Okay, you got a craft? I'm
yes,
ready.
I do. Okay. It's super short. Again, one of the things that I know you and I both talk about is we always think it's short, but, we also end up having things to talk about. And so I just can't get away from paper. It is paper quilling.
Oh, quilling?
Yes, I do paper quilling. I'm not great at it, but the very basic patterns are really fun. So the only tools you need is something called a slotted tool or a needle tool.
Okay.
So it's going to be about the width of a pencil, and it either has a very long needle eye at the top, so very wide. It just needs to fit a strip of paper that's only going to be about a quarter of an inch, which I think is like there's 24.6 millimeters in an inch. So
don't ask
sorry,
me.
people, I'm trying to get metric for you. Like 8 millimeters wide, maybe. Yeah, I think that's about right. About 8 millimeters wide. And commercially, when you get the paper, you can buy it here in the United States at any craft store. But if you can cut it yourself, it truly doesn't matter. So your strips of paper can be, if you manage to get an extremely long piece of paper, you're going to be able to twist it up into a larger shape.
Okay.
So here we go. Sorry, I kind of went off the rails there.
No.
Paper quilling, pretty much they believe the name has come from the original tool was a quill feather.
Okay,
and
that's
so
kind of what I was thinking. Like,
you could cut a notch in the top as if you were making a quilled pen, or you could just punch a hole through it. And so the piece of paper is slipped into the hole and just kind of folded over just a little bit. And you steady the paper with one hand, and in your other hand, you just twist it. And that's all you're doing. You're going to spin that paper around that. That's all you do first.
Okay.
And so that's what the paper quilling part begins as. Quilling was an art form traced back to Renaissance Europe. Nuns and monks would quill the paper very simply compared to what people do now to decorate like book covers and religious items. Pretty much what we always have done with paper.
Yeah.
We used it in some way to decorate something. But as always, as I've mentioned every single time, it's expensive. So it was done very decoratively because paper cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it was going to be on an item that was to be treasured for as long as possible. The papers originally, which I love this, that sounds magical, was commonly cut from the edges of gilded books. So they would be little strips of paper with like a gold edge.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like a byproduct, I guess. Or they were just like, screw this book, I'm going to cut the pretty edge off because I need it. Some researchers think that it became a thing in Egypt, as everything did. But others also debate that it started in China with the invention of what we know as modern day paper. You can go back and listen.
Yeah. I'm following.
Yeah. And quilling became more popular in the 18th century in Europe as women from nobility and the upper ruling class would take it. This is so crazy. They would take it up because I was reading an article and it was quoted as because it was a slow and gentle craft for their fragility, because we were too fragile to do anything but just sit there and twist paper.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So it spread to the Americas and the rest of the world super quickly after that point, and it also became a popular paper craft in the Victorian era, just like I had mentioned with like the scrapbooking of keeping these cards and all the advertisements and stuff. They loved paper, so when it became readily available, they would do the same thing, decorate these really ornate pieces, and you just put them in frames. A brief resurgence happened in the 70s, just like our
like
last
everything.
episode we were talking about. But yeah, in the 70s and 80s, it came back into fashion like a lot of things do. But it came and went just as quick. But something that I just find amazing, I love it, but COVID really opened up the market for people needing more crafts. Yes. And every single time anybody in one of the crafts, like the groups I was in on Facebook, would ask, what is a craft that I can take up that doesn't take a lot of space and not a lot of money? Quilling. You can buy this massive kit of everything and more that you would ever need for like $15.
Yeah.
On the dreaded Amazon. I'm sorry. But, so now back to what I got excited.
That was
After
like
you
me
spin the
yesterday.
shapes, yeah,
Not
we
yesterday.
always get excited.
I know.
After you spin the shapes with your quilling tool, your slotted tool, you gently remove the whole thing off of the end of your stick. And a type of adhesive, even back then they had different types of gums and rosins and stuff that they would use. So an adhesive, you just put a tiny, like now we use PVA glue or like brand name Elmer's glue. Put one tiny little dot, and then you just hold it, you just 5 seconds. When you gently let go, the whole inside spins open and you have this beautiful little spiraled circle.
Oh, okay.
Anyone can do it. And that's what I love. Literally anybody can do it.
I won't do it.
And I will show you. We will do it.
Okay.
And then to make another extremely basic shape, you hold your little circle once it's been glued, and you just grab the top and you pinch it. Now you have a teardrop. If you pinch it tight enough while the circle is still coiled, the entire thing will be a massive teardrop, like the eye of a peacock feather.
Oh, okay.
If you just want to fill in a shape, say you're going to make a petal, you can just pinch the very top, and just the top will be pointed and the inside will still be your circle.
Oh, okay.
There's a tool that comes into place now that I couldn't find anything in history about it, but we've always been super innovative. I'm sure there was a version of it, probably with just a wooden board and nails. So now we have quilling boards, and I will put a picture of what it looks like because it sounds odd to explain, but it's usually about the size of a sheet of printer paper, and it is cork with a plastic designed frame on top with holes in it. So these holes are different shaped triangles, different shaped squares. And what you're able to do is you take your shape and you put it in this section. If you want to have a very crisp, like a square, you put pins in, and that's how it's going to hold your shape open.
Okay.
And so as you let go of it on the shape after you've pulled it off, I know it sounds fussy. You got to like line it up.
Yeah.
And then as you pull it off, pinch, 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 pinch the four corners, square. So it sounds crazy because it seems so difficult, and it's not at all.
Yeah.
And the size box this entire kit comes with, typically nowadays, is going to have so many colors of the strips of paper you can buy. So in American dollars in the US, just the pack of paper strips you can get at a local craft store for like $5. And you'll have jewel tones, warm tones, just black, just white. People who specifically are making something that they need certain colors, you can buy them individually.
Yeah.
But it's really, really affordable. And I love it. And it's really therapeutic and very easy to do because you're just, if you want to do nothing but circles, you just tear off your piece of paper, make a teeny circle, make a bigger circle. So I made like a pumpkin once of just circles, and that was super cute. And that's it.
Wow.
It's really simple. It's such
you'll
a
have to
cute.
teach me.
I totally can, and it's something that like it really can make the cutest stuff just by making shapes.
Yeah.
Of even if it's just circles and teardrops, you can make a flower with. I think I made my mom a Mother's Day card. And it was daisies with like white teardrop shapes and then a little yellow center.
Aww.
And it's so simple and cute. And then, to secure it, you just put a tiny little piece of glue and then bloop, and glue it down.
Oh,
and I really love it. And it's
enough.
something I really think it is. I mean, literally, children could do it. The only thing that I would be concerned about is just the slotted tool and the needle tool. They are not sharp in any way, but sometimes kids are like stabby and runny
Like
with
my
pointy
kids.
things. But
With Lily ran with the knife.
and you're like, put it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it is even a craft that children could totally do if they can just sit, and if they have the dexterity to just twist a pencil round and round, like just spin a pencil, they could do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. If you can spin a pencil and hold a little piece of paper, you got it.
Okay. Craft day. We'll
Yes,
do it with the
I
kids.
totally have more than
Sounds
enough, and
easy.
it's really, really fun, and I recommend it because it's super affordable, and the whole entire kit even came with the glue and the needle tool and all the paper, and it was the size of maybe like I think it was like 2 inches deep by like Oh, sorry guys, I don't know I can't do centimeters.
I can't
for
either.
that.
We're too American.
Yeah. So it was the size of a medium hardcover book.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the whole kit was in there.
Oh wow.
Totally.
Okay.
It's and under.
So yeah.
I think it was under $17 when I bought it.
Huh. So it's a craft that you could keep in like a shoebox.
Absolutely.
Like,
On
in
your
your closet.
bookshelf.
Yeah.
You could push it in between some books, and it's going to bother me. So I got to Google it or look it up on Amazon. Oh, no, the Prime Day.
I know. We're
But-
recording during Prime Day. Deals. It's like-
Yes.
yeah. I
But
already got
I've
my stuff.
always, also another, like, people would ask about crafts for the disabled or people who were bedridden. And I always will recommend quilling because
Yeah.
if you're posted up in bed, you can do it. You literally just need your fingertips.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all
cool.
you need. So right now on Amazon, I'm looking. Yes, it is like on the Prime deal.
Deals.
Jeez Louise. I believe this kit here is the exact one that I bought. It is the Juya, Juya paper quilling kits with 30 colors, 600 strips, and 8 tools. So it has other tools as well, even a little tool you put around your needle and spin it, and it measures it for you. The whole entire kit. Oh, it also came with tweezers, a pokey bit to like line up what you're doing on your little cork board, a pair of scissors that I remember were the best scissors ever, and it's $16.99.
Ah.
And the paper width actually tells me right here are 3 millimeters, so it was smaller than I thought.
Oh, okay.
But the wider pieces of paper just make different depths of the depths of field. So for
So you could do like multiple dimensions.
exactly. There you go. My brain was losing the word dimension.
Oh,
Okay, there you go.
cool. Good job.
Thanks. I did it so fast because I was like, well, I tried to talk a lot because I had like
No, that
6
was
sentences.
well, that was kind of me with macrame. I'm like, there's really not a whole lot but-
Because it's like we say every time, it is exactly the way it was. It didn't need to change. And the only thing that changed now is just these little the ease of tools. Like the board makes it easier. But people do it by hand all the time. But for you to get the feel of what it needs to be by hand first, the quilling board helps that. So yeah, but besides that, the tool and the paper, it's been
It's
around
like all the
forever.
same.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the same. And whatever kind of glue they use, they probably spit on it. But no, I'm guessing probably like a tree sap resin or something.
Maybe.
Now I need to Google what kind of glue they use. But I
know.
tried to, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So I'll do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good job.
Thanks.
Now I'm like, you got to teach me this.
It's really fun.
Okay. So now, as always, one of us has to bring it down. So my case I'm going to cover today, like I said, we've been working hard. So this is a new one to me.
Okay.
This is the case of Sandy Miles. So Sandy Miles had just moved to Hutchinson, Kansas, and got a job at an aviation factory, Eaton Corporation, where she made pistons and gear pumps. And she was really close to her sisters, who lived in Palco, Kansas, 150 miles away, and she kept like regular contact with them. She was really close to her sisters. And you know, her sister said it was clear she was just ready to start a family, just like her sisters were. So she started going to some singles clubs in Hutchinson, Kansas. And so this actually proved to be very helpful with her desire to start a family, because in 1976, Sandy told her sisters that she had met someone.
Oh, yay.
And she was pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah, fast. So,
She was making it happen.
yeah, she wanted that family. So in March 1976, she had her son, Chad. And the relationship with the father, unfortunately, doesn't last. So Sandy becomes a single mom. But soon after, she starts a relationship with a work colleague named Terry Miles. And they quickly get married. And then in September 1980, they had a daughter named Tracy. And then once again, unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. So they got divorced in 1985. And once again, Sandy becomes a single mom, but this time of 2 kids. So at this time, Chad is now graduating high school and he wants to move out. And so he ends up moving to New Mexico and he gets married and he starts his family and stuff. And at this time, it's just Sandy and her daughter, Tracy. And they start to get really close. And Tracy is a dancer and an athlete. And Sandy is just like really supportive of her daughter. She wants the best for her. And in the fall of 1996, Tracy turns 16.
Yay!
And like most teenagers her age, she's interested in boys and dating. And Tracy is particularly interested in a boy named Paul Nelson. And Paul and his friends would like hang out at Tracy's house, but they were like, okay, clearly they're like smitten with each other. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, okay. So then it was like just the two of them. And then in early 1997, at only 16 years old, Tracy finds out she's pregnant.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, of course, she tells her mom, and her mom is not happy. And the two of them actually argue about it. And Sandy didn't feel that Tracy was ready to have a baby, and she wanted just a better life for her daughter. So she started to push her daughter to have an abortion. And Tracy eventually agrees and has an abortion. And this basically just destroyed the relationship between the two of them. And so in order to try to mend the relationship, Sandy decides to give Tracy something. A black Ford Mustang.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's kind of...
I know. I think she just really wanted to mend the relationship because of what it was. And it's like now this thing, and I'm sure she probably felt bad for like pressuring her daughter so hard to, but just wanting the best for her. So she just really wanted to see her daughter happy, try to mend the relationship. And even though like Sandy could barely afford the car, but she got it. Of course, Tracy was excited and happy. So that was just, it sounds like things are going better. So then on March 30th, 1998, Sandy's sister, Pat, gets a call stating that Sandy hasn't been to work for days.
Oh, no.
So Pat calls Sandy and gets no answer. So then she decides to drive all the way out to her house to see what's going on. And she sees Sandy's car under the carport, and all of the curtains in the house are pulled closed. And there's like no sign of Sandy. So Pat decided to try to get a hold of Tracy at school. And the school resource officer says that Tracy isn't there, and she hadn't been there for days.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So Pat goes back to Sandy's house with the school resource officer to see if they could get into the house to find out what was going on.
I would break down the door.
I know. So I think she just probably didn't want to go alone. So it's like, well, let's go see what's going on, because now it's like, well, we don't know where Tracy is. We don't know where Sandy is. So like, let's go see.
The school resource officer is actually like a police officer that's assigned to the school.
Yes.
Correct. Oh.
Yeah. We had one in high school.
I just never knew if they were like just like the higher up security guard that's allowed to carry a weapon on them.
I don't know. Ours was an actual officer, I believe. I can't remember. I think it was.
Ours
it was.
Wasn't. Ours was
I
just
think
a
ours
jerk.
was. So it's a school resource officer.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So they go over to the house, and he's like, well, I'll go in first. And immediately he spun around and told Pat, out. Get out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Pat
And
is
the sister. Okay. So Sandy's sister. And so he spins around and tells her, like, out. Get out. Yeah. And they could smell something.
Oh, God.
And so they knew what most likely happened. So then, of course, the police show up, and they are like ready to confront whatever it is in this house. Like, is there someone hiding in here? Is that like what is going on?
Yeah.
And when officers enter the home, to the left was Tracy's bedroom, and in the hallway towards that bedroom was where officers found a body. The body was halfway in the entryway and halfway in the hallway, and there was a large pool of blood around the head, and it was covered with a blanket. Her head was.
Okay.
There were obvious signs that there were several blows to the head with a blunt object, and around the throat there was a telephone cord, and it wasn't tied too tightly, but it was clear that strangulation had happened. The body was Sandy Miles, and she had been dead for several days.
So probably the whole time she was missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when she didn't show up to work. So officers did not find any sign of Tracy Miles. She was missing. Yeah. So detectives scoured the house for evidence. They were looking to see if anything was missing. So maybe this was like a robbery gone wrong.
Yeah.
And there was one item missing. It was a VCR. And that's pretty much all that they could find missing.
And this is the like
19 Sorry, I
That's
lost the
okay.
date. 1998. So,
Okay.
we had a VCR.
Yeah, I was like, they're not like worth a ton of money at that point.
No.
Okay, that's weird.
So then they, are trying to put things together. So Tracy obviously went missing at the same time as her mother's murder. So detectives were afraid that like something had happened to her. And they were like, well, we need to find her as soon as possible. She could be in danger. Sandy obviously had been brutally murdered, and the crime scene did leave a lot of clues. There was no forced entry, so this suggested that Sandy maybe knew her killer.
Okay.
So detectives reach out to Sandy and Tracy's friends to see if anyone had contact with Tracy. And there was an old boyfriend of Tracy's that had contact, and his name was Jeremy Bell.
Mm-hmm.
So detectives knew who he was because he had been in jail the week before and had just been released.
Oh. So he was probably in jail when she went missing possibly?
Like, no, he was released before she went missing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They knew Jeremy Bell was violent, and so, of course, he became, like, the main focus of their investigation. Mm-hmm. So he was brought in for questioning, but he told detectives that he had gone to a park to play basketball with some friends. So, of course, detectives talked to these friends to check his alibi.
Yeah.
And it checks out. And so he was ruled out as a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
But before he leaves, he tells detectives that they should be looking at Tracy's current boyfriend, Paul Nelson.
Uh-oh.
So when detectives look into Paul further, they see that he had multiple run-ins with law enforcement, and he also had some criminal convictions. And friends also stated that drugs were involved, so he just wasn't the best guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they find that his relationship with Tracy and her mom was strained. Because remember, just 1 year before Sandy's murder, Tracy was pregnant.
Yeah.
Paul was the father. And Sandy gave Tracy the ultimatum to have an abortion or move out.
Mm-hmm.
So detectives are now thinking maybe this is like revenge for the mom forcing Tracy to kill his unborn baby too.
Right.
Because it wasn't just Tracy's, it was his.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
was he her age too? They went to high school the same?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Paul obviously needs to be found, but when
Yeah.
when detectives talk to friends and family, it sounds like Paul isn't coming back and that he was maybe going to Mexico in a black Mustang.
A 16-year-old boy just takes
He was
off
like 16 or 17, yeah.
I would still not let my 17-year-old child
I think
drive
it was
to
more of
Mexico.
the friends that were like, he's not coming back. He said he's going to Mexico. He is in a black Mustang, and he said that he pawned a VCR and he has $2,000 on him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why would you pawn it for $25?
Yeah. So pawn shops are looked at in the area to see if they could like pinpoint the one where the VCR is, where it's pawned at. And it didn't take long. It was the second store they looked at. They ended up finding Sandy's VCR. And the owner of the pawn shop said they had surveillance cameras. So they checked the surveillance footage. And on March 26th, Paul Nelson is seen walking into the pawn shop and trying to pawn the VCR. Paul was told that the VCR could not be pawned because it did not have a remote control. Yeah.
That sucks. What an idiot.
Yeah. So
if you steal things, don't forget to take the fucking controller.
Yeah, the remote. Yeah. That's like stealing a TV and forgetting the remote.
Yeah, that's so dumb.
So,
well, he's also 17.
Yeah. So Paul leaves, and then he comes back later with the remote control and is then able to pawn the VCR for $50.
So he went back.
Yeah. And so obviously this is proof that Paul's like linked to the crime.
Yeah.
But detectives are still wondering, like, where's Tracy? Like, did he do something to her? Because now we just know he has the VCR that was
and
stolen.
The car.
And the car. Well, yeah, friend said that he had her car.
Is she in the trunk? Oh, no.
So detectives look at Sandy's financial records to try to establish a timeline. And they see that $2,000 had been taken out of her account.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So detectives knew from friends and family that Paul had $2,000 on him. So
see, dumb kid, you shouldn't have told nobody.
I know. I'm like, why is he telling everybody his plan? So obviously that further strengthens the connection to the case. And so detectives look at how it was possible that Paul was able to get access to her money.
Yeah.
And that's when detectives discover that it was Tracy Miles that had gone into the bank to cash a $2,000 check.
Mm-hmm.
So detectives at this point don't know still if Tracy is alive or dead. They just knew that she took some money out.
That's very true.
All detectives knew is that Paul was like driving the black Mustang and supposedly heading to Mexico with $2,000.
Yeah.
So detectives then had to check hundreds of border cameras to see
Oh my
if
gosh,
they had crossed into Mexico. And the footage was horrible quality, and it was basically impossible to tell using the camera footage. So on March 30th, 1998, a lookout for Paul and Tracy was posted at the Mexican border crossing in El Paso, Texas. 1 week after their disappearance, the car is noticed coming into the USA, not out. Apparently, they didn't have visas, so they couldn't stay in Mexico, so they headed back. And on April 8th, a call came in from 17-year-old Candace Kenow. She said that she had a missed call from a high school friend named Tracy Miles. And she actually had the caller ID number. And so investigators immediately traced the phone number, and it is to a motel in El Paso, Texas. So local police are notified, and they go to the motel where they find Paul and Tracy together. And they are immediately taken into custody.
Yeah.
And then they are brought back to Hutchinson, Kansas. So Paul is questioned first. He admits to stealing the VCR. And then this is when detectives tell him, like, look, we didn't follow you all the way from Kansas to Texas for a VCR. And Paul starts crying and tells detectives what happened. So he says that Tracy and Sandy had been fighting since the abortion, and also about Paul being with Tracy. He says that on March 25th, Sandy had threatened to take away the Mustang, and Tracy went crazy and started to fight with her mom. Tracy and Paul decided that the only way out was to kill Sandy. So Paul says that Tracy left for school the next day, and he hid in the house with a wooden statue of a bear, and then he came out and hit Sandy over the head in the living room. When detectives asked him how many times he hit Sandy over the head, he said 3 times. So he said they had a plan. This was all planned. Paul would kill Sandy, and then Tracy would be called to come to the house, and then they would make it look like a robbery. But he says the plan went wrong because he said that after he hit Sandy in the head, he ran to the bathroom and got sick and had a hard time dealing with the situation. He said that Sandy was still making noises when Tracy came home. So she wasn't dead right away.
Yeah.
Paul said that even though he hit Sandy and sent her to the ground, Tracy was the real killer. Now, at autopsy, it was found that the blows to the head that Paul inflicted would have ultimately been what would have killed her, but strangulation was the official cause of death. Remember, she had a telephone cord around her neck.
Yeah.
So when Tracy was confronted about killing her mother, she laughed. And then said, "Yes, I went and got the cord and wrapped it around my mother's throat." Tracy Miles was the one who ultimately killed Sandy by strangling her with the telephone cord.
But she would the blood impact would have killed her. Gotcha.
Yes, but it would have been
she could have called for help.
Yeah, he would have been the true killer if she hadn't been strangled, but Tracy was the one that ultimately ended her life by strangling her.
Gosh.
Yeah. So the actions, I mean, think about it. After the murder, trying to sell the VCR and then just being there, they obviously had to go back to the house to get the remote. And so it's awful and heartless. And Tracy said that she just didn't want to have the car taken away from her. Yeah. She didn't have any remorse at all.
Wow.
Yeah. Just 2 weeks after the murder, both of them are charged with the murder of Sandy Miles. Now, Tracy is 17 years old, and she is tried as an adult. And I think he is like a year older than her. So he was 18. He was already an adult. So the trial began on March 1st, 1999, and both Tracy and Paul plead no contest, and both received life sentences with a minimum of at least 25 years. Tracy tried to withdraw her murder plea in 2013, testifying that she didn't understand the consequences and that Paul was abusive and stuff, but it was denied. So both.
You don't understand the consequences of strangling someone to death?
Yeah, I think more of the consequences of pleading no contest in
Gotcha.
comparison to, so it's like, I didn't understand. He was abusive and manipulative and stuff, but they were like, no. No. So both Paul and Tracy will be eligible for parole in 2023.
Oh, okay.
So this year. I couldn't find like an exact date or anything. But yeah, this year. Paul
We'll have to
is
give
now
an update.
44 years old and Tracy is 43. And that is it. Poor Sandy was trying to do the best as a mom, and I have a teenager, and it's hard because you want to give your kid everything in the world. And even with Troy now, he's, going to be 16. Oh my gosh, in like a few weeks. and he could drive, but he hasn't passed the permit test yet, and we want to, give him a car and stuff, but sometimes it's like not the best thing. Especially, I don't think I would give my kid a car if they got someone pregnant or if they were pregnant. Be like, here, I know we're fighting. Here's a car.
Because you've made some we all make mistakes. You make just bad decisions.
Still,
and stuff,
but
at that point, you'd be like, I think you need to be a little home.
Yeah,
a little bit more.
I think not. Here's a car and go out.
Freedom. In the same way. It's not like everyone has different views. I'm not saying like ground them and punish them. Like what the fuck? What's that gonna do? But maybe much. You guys need to spend some more time together.
Yeah, or just reevaluate her day to day.
And also, they said like, oh, they were so close. Sometimes you can be too much of a friend to your kid. And that kind of sounds like it. Not that. Oh my God, it doesn't matter. That's so sad.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
sad.
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You can be
a little shit.
The mom that, your kid wants to go to and tell everything. But then
the one time you say no, you just.
Yeah. Then they take it out against you. So, so she was unfortunately killed because her daughter just was like, I don't want my car taken away and I want to be with my boyfriend.
Brat.
Yeah.
Golly.
If anything, the only thing I'd be giving my daughter is birth control so it doesn't happen again. Not a
Seriously,
car.
Yeah.
So, because it's like, if you're going to do it here, just don't do that again. Don't get pregnant, so. But yeah, so that is the unfortunate senseless murder of, it doesn't make any sense.
None of them really ever do.
I know, but this is just,
like
it made me so mad when I was like,
oh yeah.
I thought maybe it was like.
Just the boyfriend. Or
yeah,
whatever.
I thought maybe the boyfriend was mad at both of them or something. And then I was like, oh my
you
gosh,
let her
he's the
force
remorseful
you
one. And she's just like, yep, I did it. Just like a spoiled teenage brat. Yeah. So it's crazy because now she's like 43 this year. She'll be 43.
She still has life to live if she gets out. And the thing is, like, in general, 17 is pretty young and stupid, but I don't think she's gonna get out for that. The reality of, like, he maybe would have a better chance because of how bad he felt.
Yeah.
It's just in the testimony alone of, like, I fucked up and I puked, but at the same time, like, you could have left.
Yeah.
You could have called someone before it was too late. And she obviously could not care less.
Did see that since he's been in prison. I mean, clearly she was still trying to get out of it in 2013. But it looks like he turned his life around in prison and was like trying to do better. And so he might have a better chance. But I don't know. He had run-ins with the law before, so it might take a long time before he gets out, or her. But yes, having someone, I wasn't able to find a whole lot on her. I just knew she was still, locked up.
Yeah.
So,
well, we will keep an eye on it.
I know.
See what's up.
I need to make a note, like, check parole. So, anyways, that was it.
You did good.
Thanks.
That's sad.
I know, they're all sad.
Yeah, that's very true.
I know. That's why we leave you on a downer.
You're welcome.
So, with that, stay crafty
and not crimey. Bye.
Bye.